What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I have some really good news to share with you guys today. We're looking at the CPI score. So if you're on a fixed income, if you're retired, this is very important information to pay attention to. That's what we're going to focus on today. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And I just want to remind you, if you're not getting updates every day, make sure you let me know in the comments below. That way I can let YouTube know. I'm still having a problem when it comes to notifications. So if you guys don't know, when you do subscribe, you get notified anytime I post a video. And I have people that are still telling me that they're not getting any notifications. So another thing that you might want to check, if it's on your phone, make sure you check that you're allowing notifications on your phone in order to get that notification. Because sometimes what happens is if you don't allow notifications on your phone, then YouTube sends out a notification, but it's not going to go to you. So just make sure you check that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead. I want to talk about the CPI score. And we talk about this every month, and I think it's important for us to focus on this, especially if you're on a fixed income, because this is a situation where when we're looking at the CPI score, we'll find out more information when it comes to food and the cost of a lot of different items. And so it's really important for us to focus. And I just retired 1 year ago, and so it's important for me to pay attention to this because I want to know what's going on when it comes to the cost of food and the cost of everything. Okay, so first off, I want to read this quote from Mark Zandi. He's a chief economist from Moody Analytics, and he's saying, inflation is quickly moderating. Obviously, it's still painfully high, but it's quickly moving in the right direction. And then he goes on to say, I see nothing but good news in the report except for the top line number of 6.5%. It's way too high. And so 6.5% is what we're looking at for December. Now, we saw 7.1% in November, so we are moving in the right direction, but inflation is still way too high. Now, let's look at some of the categories here because this is where we learn a lot of information. Overall categories. So looking at overall categories when it comes to food, and I know this is very, very small for you guys, so I'll zoom in as I talk a little bit about this stuff. But when it comes to food is at 10.4%. Okay, now in December it was up 0.3%, and in November it was actually up 0.5%. So it's still moving in the right direction when it comes to food. It's starting to go down a little bit more. Month to month overall, that's something I want to talk about as well. So month to month overall, we saw a decline. So that's good. Okay, we saw a decline of minus 0.1%. And that is down from November. It was 0.1%, okay, in the positive. So now we're starting to hit the negatives here, and so that is definitely good news there. Okay, let's go ahead and move down to some other categories here. And let's see, food at home and food away from home. So food at home is 11.8%. Food away from home is 8.3%. Okay, so that's the increase over year. So the problem when we start looking at the CPI score, the main problem is we see this top line number of 6.5%, and we're thinking, okay, that's good. We know that the COLA increase for people receiving Social Security was 8.7%. So that's what we want to see. However, this 6.5%, this is an overall average. So we do need to look at some of the categories because those categories are going to give us a lot of information as far as if I go to the grocery store and I buy groceries, why am I paying so much for groceries if the CPI is at 6.5%? Well, you're paying more because each category it's different. Okay, so food overall 10.4%. So that means that COLA increase is still not, your buying power is still not there when it comes to food. Okay, so we're hoping to get food prices down below that 8.7%, and then you'll be in a situation where your purchasing power is greater than inflation. But right now, we're still looking at a situation where it's not greater than inflation in a lot of these different categories. I won't say a lot, but in some of the different categories. Okay, so let's move on down the list here. Energy is at 7.3% here. And that is down. That is actually down. If you see month to month here, minus 4.5%. So that's good that energy is starting to drop. Now, gasoline prices are dropping as well, and gasoline is one of the major reasons why we're seeing this dramatic drop from 7.1% to 6.5% for the CPI overall, right? Because what they do when it comes to CPI score, you just think of a shopping cart full of different products. That's what they do. That's how they get the overall average. And so they're taking all these different categories and they're averaging them out. And so gasoline that we just talked about there is minus 1.5%. So you see that drastic drop. And then for month to month, it was a minus 9.4%. So that is really good, going in the right direction. 41.5%, that is fuel and oil, I believe. And we know those numbers jump when it's winter because the cost of fuel for heating. Okay, so let's move on down and see some of these other categories here. I'm not going to go through every one, but I do want to look at a few key categories. Let's see, shelter. Shelter is always one that we want to pay attention to, and shelter is at 7.5%, and it's still very high, but it is starting to go, well, actually, it's actually increased. So back in October, it was 0.8%. November, it was 0.6%, so it dropped, and now it's going back up a little bit, 0.8% again in December. So 7.5%, that's something that we really need to watch, shelter, because obviously we all need a place to live. And when it comes to the cost to rent, it's going up. It continues to rise. And that's mainly because people aren't buying houses like they were buying in the last few years. So just looking at, I think that's the main thing that I wanted to look at, just some of the different things here. Now, when you're looking at the car market, we are seeing used cars and trucks. That is really dropping drastically, minus 8.8%. So we are seeing. So basically, this is less than what it cost last year to buy a car, and we know last year was terrible when it came to used vehicles because there was a shortage in chips to put in these vehicles, and so vehicle prices were way up. And so now they're starting to go down, actually go way down. And we have to look at the fact that people just, I mean, if inflation's really high, interest rates are going up, people are not going to buy cars. They're just not going to do it because why would you go and get 6% interest when you can wait a little bit and then perhaps get it back down to around 4% or 3%. So there's just no reason at this point for people to be out buying cars. So I highly recommend, if you're in a situation where you have to buy a car, if you can wait, I would wait a little bit because we're going to have to see what the Federal Reserve does with interest rates on February 1st. The talk is that we could see 25 basis points instead of 50 basis points that we saw in the last hike. So we're going to be watching that because what they're doing, the Federal Reserve is trying to cool off the economy. They're still concerned with unemployment. They're still concerned with the fact that the unemployment rate is not increasing. And I know that sounds weird, but what they want is to cool the economy off. And by doing that, that will reduce inflation even more. And so they're going to continue to raise interest rates until we get to that point where our economy really, really starts to cool off. And right now, our economy is still booming, believe it or not. Even though inflation is starting to decrease, our economy is still booming. People are still hiring. If you go to get a job, I think it's 2 jobs for every 1 applicant, which is really good for a person who's looking for a job. However, the Federal Reserve wants to cool it off even more. So that's why they're probably still going to raise interest rates. But it said that it'll be an even smaller increase of 0.25% or 25 basis points. So this is what we have right now. So if you are retired, if you're receiving Social Security, this is good news. We still need to wait because we're waiting for the food prices to drop below that 8.7%, and then you'll be in a real good situation, or at least a much better situation than you were last year. So that's something that we're going to be focused on. If you guys have questions, make sure you post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.